question and answers because we would like to spend more time on question and answers instead of telling you a lot of theory. If that is okay, we can move on. Otherwise, I would cover a little more theory also.
10 minutes, please cover a little the planned theory, sir. Then we will go with question and answers at 10:50, so that we can close the session by 11:15. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, let's look at how exactly the accountants do the magic of keeping the equilibrium of business. All the money which the business has invested is in the form of machines, materials, men, management, all the M's. Now, when you are maintaining a machine, when you are making a machine or making production, they want you to think that you are dealing with money. You're not dealing with machine, because it is the money which is flown into the, like water. If you spread the water on the ground, it spreads all over into the nooks and corners and ups and downs. Similarly, the money which is thrown into the business has occupied different positions, different places called machines, men, materials, and so on, which are there in the company. They would like you to see it as money. It is my money, I have given to you, and you must make a proper use. And the money has to be properly dealt with, because the other day I mentioned money, properties of money, the property of how much money, quantity of it, the speed of it, and the time value of it. More importantly, the time value of it. Now, what happens is that if you rotate the money in shorter cycles, the multiplier effect is much more. There are businesses which rotate the money in longer cycles. Suppose 4 of us invest 4 lakhs each, 1 lakh each, making it to 4 lakhs, and earn 1 more lakh, totally 5 lakhs at the end of the year. All 4 of us together have made 1 lakh. Each have got 25,000 rupees. Now, if only one person amongst us has got 25,000, has got 1 lakh, we will use it in the first week and gives to the second person, second week, third person, and so on. With 1 lakh of rupees, we have made 4 lakhs worth of business, and at the end of the year, we have so much. Therefore, we are able to generate equal amount, equal profits, because we have reduced the time cycle. We have rotated the money much faster. Paise ko bhaga diya. Paise ko bhaga diya. So that's how the concept of time value of money occurs. And using this, what they will do is, they will see that, you know, a true accountant would always say, paisa nahi hai. There is no money. You go for a loan or you go for anything else, paisa nahi hai, because he would treat the money as a scarcest resource. And he wants all the people in the company to believe this philosophy, that the scarcest resource is money, and therefore we must use it properly. Now, how does he maintain the equilibrium? After I mentioned the time value, because time value has got there are formulas, you know, the simple interest, compound interest kind of formulas which are there, using which the time value is calculated. It is important because we would be able to know the present value of the future monies which come in several stages, or future value of the present monies. Both can be calculated, so that using them you can take financial decisions. So net present value, net future value, we would be calculated using the time value of money, and therefore the importance of time value of money. It is not PNR by 100, but it's got a formula and so on. And the formula is given in the text which is circulated. One can look at that. For want of time, I would like to move over to the next subheading. Now, the next subheading is, although I should have dealt with it when I was talking of debits and credits, but then since I have got a few more minutes, I wish to go back to the basic of debits and credits. I would like to dwell upon the types of accounts. By account, what we mean is a group of transactions like bank account, Barlas account, the ITC account, Tiruvatiur account, Monger account, kind of accounts they maintain. Each one is, ledger. In other words, I mentioned to you the ledger. So ledger of each party is an account, and these accounts are classified in three ways: the real account, personal account, nominal account. Now, real account is all assets. Personal account is all persons. And nominal account is all expenses and incomes. Assets, all assets are real accounts. All persons are personal accounts. All expenses and revenues are nominal account. So far in the literature, I also told my students to find a fourth type of account, because there are certain things which are, bribes given to XYZ and amounts paid to Naxalites and so on, kind of miscellaneous accounts are there where we account for it. I told my students to come out with some other ways of accounting for these fictitious amounts. But in the right literature, we have real account, personal account, and nominal account. In the real account, all incomes are debited, all outgoings are credited. So debit the giver and credit the person who takes it. In personal account, all which are receiving are debited, all which are given to others are credited. In nominal account, all expenses are debited, all incomes are credited. Maybe accounts people would know more precisely the language of it, but then what I remember over the years, I could share with you. So we have the real account, personal account, and nominal account, the rules of accounting, and so on, based on which it is only when you prepare like this, you are maintaining the equilibrium of the business. It's very difficult to arrive at the equilibrium position. In fact, as students also, we used to find that the balance sheet never balances. It's very difficult to balance the balance sheet. So that's how it is. And at the end of the day, the health of the company internally and externally is what is managed by the finance and accounts function. So I would conclude here, and thank you very much for the patient listening. We have Mr. Pradeep Doble, Mr. A.V. Rao, Mr. S.R. Tulsi. The legends are here. I'm grateful for all the seniors who are here, my colleagues and things. Thank you very much. We will go over to the question answers.
Thank you, Mr. Barla, Dr. Barla, for your time. Now, one Mr. Venkat has already raised his hand for the question and answer session. I'm unmuting Mr. Venkat Rahul.
Yeah. Sir, two questions. I'm a technology entrepreneur, and I do not know much into the finance. But at the end of the day, I have to be my company has to be running compliant accounts. So if there are 3 points at the top of the table that I should knock off at the end of the year or the quarter, what are those? That's question number one. Number two, some of my finance expert friends say that having a negative working capital is what you should aim for, but I've never understood what it means. And number three, there is always a confusion that I have between classifying a particular entry as a debit or a credit. Is there any easy acronym or easy way in which we can quickly say this is the nature, so this is debit, or this is the nature, so this is credit?
Yeah, the first, may I respond?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. The first one, the first question is relating to what are my primary concerns, top 3 concerns. Is it right, Venkat? In my business, I'm an entrepreneur, and what are my top 3 concerns? Concern number 1, return on investment. We are dealing with the finance session, and whether my money will come back to me or not, and in what time it will come back to me. Simple. You have to protect your money. You have to create surplus. Otherwise, don't be in business because you would like to be in business. Of course, you make losses, and finally traction will develop and you make profit some other day. Those are philosophical outlooks using which you would be able to do it. But as a concern, if you look at, I would see personally whether my investment is protected or not, and in how many years or what period I would get back my money. ROI is the second concern is my people. Organization is a group of people working together for a common cause. It is people, and people. If I am able to create value whereby my people remain motivated in my company will run well. The third thing is technology. What is the kind of technology I'm investing? And is it scalable? I invest today and next year something else comes, like a black and white TV, color TV, and digital TV. And do I go out of business after some time? Though technology with scalability, Mr. A.V. Rao Garu would dwell more on this. But I would say that my money, my people, my technology are the 3 top concerns that I have to look after. Different opinions can be there. Now, the next question is working capital being negative. It is for the purpose of maintaining a scarce position of the cash, because as I already said, paisa nahi hai. It means that I have invested more in the machinery, more in the long-term assets. I have maintained scarcity of working capital, which means that I have invested in long-term assets, thereby my production capacity, my productivity are better, therefore my long-term viability is ensured. For that, I am sacrificing the short-term. I would undergo troubles, like Mr. Madhu in Classic and Viva, right? I would suffer right now because I would like the future of my company, long-term productivity and production are more important for me than within 1 year what suffer by keeping tight finances or negative finances and so on. That is what my take on the second question of the working capital being negative. The third one, could you repeat so that there is clarity on the question, Rahul?
Barla, I would like to make a comment on negative working capital. Before you go to the third one. See, working capital, first of all, very basic. In simple terms, why is working capital required? Working capital is required to buy the raw materials, to buy, pay your people, etc., etc. The customer doesn't pay you immediately. The customer places order for 100 tons of paper, for which you need pulp, or you need bamboo, hardwood, chemicals, payment of people, etc., etc. Customer pays you after 45 days, or even if he pays you in cash, he is going to pay you only on dispatch. So in the meantime, you need to have money. That is working capital. To fill the gap between when the customer pays you and when you have to pay your right? That is the second part. When you have to pay buyers, if I am able to negotiate a deal better, then I will be in a negative working capital situation. If for example, I'm making such a unique product, I sell it on advance payment. That means customer places order on me and pays the money upfront. Lot of plant and machinery which we buy, we pay 30% advance to Walmart. If his working capital requirement is less than 30%, he will be negative working capital. So if you get your money similarly to your vendors, people who are supplying you chemicals, pulp, this, that, and all, if you negotiate with them 180 days payment terms, and with your customer you have only 45 days payment term or cash payment, then also you will be in a negative working capital situation. So the simple way of working toward negative capital is, it's very, very rare in paper industry. Hindustan Lever is one company in FMCG. It is more easy for FMCG companies. You have to negotiate smallest payment period with your customer and the longest payment period with your supplier.
Yeah.
That is
Pradeep,
to get into negative. Yeah,
Pradeep, why in paper industry is because the farmers, what is your inputs? Major thing is wood. You can't say for the farmers, no, I'll pay after 6 days. No one will give wood. You have to pay cash and take.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, maybe some 20% chemicals or certain things that we might have taken on the credit. And whereas your customers are printers and like Hindustan Levers and all that.
Correct.
So they will always ask you, force you to credit. So you'll always end up in a positive working capital. Whereas Hindustan Levers and all that, their raw material is from some chemicals guys and all that. So they can always take a credit. And whereas you, when you are paying for surf, you are paying cash.
Absolutely.
You are not taking surf on credit. You are paying cash. So the same cash flow will be faster for him into his company. So he is able to manage with the negative working capital. Okay. But the point here is, don't think that you have too much of negative working capital is good. It's not good. Because the guy who is giving you credit is also charging you for some money. See, what are you doing with that cash? What you have got? You have got negative working capital means you have got cash with you. If a cash is idle with you, it's not good. Because the cash is with you and the guy who has supplied you is giving you credit, but he's not giving you credit for free. He is charging you for that interest also. So if your working capital is too high, is also not good. It's not good. Right. So you have to pay him upfront also is good. You will get a better price, so which you can pass it on to customer. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Now you go to the third. Venkat, what was your third question?
Venkat, what was your third point? Because three came together. It may have been answered already in the question.
Debits and credits, easier way of classifying them. In some kind of a thumb rule or whatever.
It's very difficult because no mistake should be made in lodging the debits and credits. We follow the basic accounting rules of account, personal account, which I mentioned. But generally, as a layman, if a person who's not studied, who studied something else, who studied psychology or Telugu language, he must understand that debit is something which is unfavorable. Credit is something favorable. In your business, if something is unfavorable, if you lost money, debit your company. If you gain some money, debit your company. This is one liner, but the basic accounting rules have to be followed. Thank you.
No, can I explain in small, simple language? Supposing you received a goods from a supplier, okay, you're getting an invoice. The moment you get the invoice, that invoice amount, you have to put it on your debit side, that you have to pay to that guy. That you are acknowledging that I have to pay this amount to that guy. So that amount will go into debit side. Whereas in the ledger in his account, in that particular supplier's account, you will put it on credit side.
Correct.
So you got the point.
Totally. Absolutely.
I think that's, Barla, what you said, very good thumb rule. If it benefits the company, credit. If it is harming the company, I think nothing can be more simpler thumb rule than that.
So that's how you put it in the transactions, you put it in the credit and debit side. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Venkat. That's a wonderful thing.
Prakash Pathak.
Yeah.
Prakash,
Go ahead, Prakash.
I have two questions. Many times we hear that the XYZ company accounts are fudged. So I want to know how to read the
Your voice is breaking.
financial
Correct.
statement and identify the corrupts.
Prakash, your voice is
Second
breaking.
question is,
Prakash, your voice is breaking.
okay, I will
he can post it. He can post the
switch off my
question.
video to improve. Okay.
You posted. In the meantime, I think Tulsi also had a question.
I already posted to
Tulsi, you unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Tulsi, unmute yourself. Tulsi, unmute yourself. He's not able to hear us also, I think.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Now
Okay,
it's
okay.
better.
I have only okay.
Good.
Dr. Barla,
Haji, yes, sir.
simple question. How does organization benefit from a share price? I know the answer, but I want to know whether something more can be known.
Yes. If may I answer? If the share price is very high, your investors, people who would like to invest in your company, come forward in large numbers. Employers will prefer you. I mean, the employees will prefer you. So there is an all-round of brand building which is happening, and your shareholders, owners of the company, are investing money, and it is your duty to see that their wealth is maximized. Now, if you give dividend, this dividend is 20%, 30%, but I am getting 3,500% in the market. So therefore, our company is able to ensure that a higher price in the marketplace, thereby benefiting my shareholders. This is called what is called Modular Miller theory, theory, for which the Modular and Miller were awarded Nobel Prize.
Barla, the question is, how does it benefit the company, not the shareholder? How it benefits the shareholder is very clear. He gets higher money for his shareholding.
Yeah. If you want, if it is, in my personal view, it is just the brand value of the company, whereby investors will prefer, where the employees would prefer, all the stakeholders will come in large numbers. That is the pull which the company is creating.
I have another viewpoint.
Go ahead, Tulsi. Just for benefit of everybody, Mr. Tulsi is PhD in finance management, right? or MBA, or MBA. No, or MBA. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your MBA, yeah. And he did it post retirement. Hats off to you.
Hats off to you.
Come on, please.
Tulsi, keep the phone away from you, so that inkoncham dooram pettandi.
Yeah, I have another viewpoint. By share price going up, the organization will find it easier to raise financial resources from the market. Pradeep can add.
No, my personal view is it's a drastic view. Management should have no eyes on the share price. It is not management responsibility in total to get affected by the share price on a day-to-day basis. Management's role is to create shareholder value in the long run. If I take an action today because of which the share price goes down, but it is going to be high again after 1 year or 2 years, I better take that decision. So management should not look at share price on a day-to-day basis. It is only the traders or the investors, they should look at the share price on a day-to-day basis. The benefit to the employees is only in the companies where there is stock option. Okay. So not too many companies. We know because we are in ITC and ITC has stock option. You go to many other companies, mid-tier companies, many large companies also, you ask the employees what is stock option, they may not even be able to explain to you. So it's not really relevant in terms of day-to-day management operation what the share price is. Because there are so many external factors. The Federal Reserve in US makes some statement and he does quantitative easing there and the share prices start moving worldwide. What should the management do about it? There's nothing in your control. What is in your control? To maximize return on capital employed. The shareholders and the lenders have given you 100 crore rupees, 1,000 crore rupees, whatever. You maximize the return on that. That is management responsibility. It is believed and generally it is true that if you maximize that, if you do better than competition in that, then the share price will automatically go up. It may not go up in year 1 or year 2, but over period. So your role as a management is continuously get return on capital employed. Again, cigarette business return on capital employed cannot be compared with paper business return on capital employed.
Yeah.
You have to be best in class. So that is why, the companies always look at benchmarking. Benchmarking is a very useful tool and the finance people also play a role in benchmarking because they have access to data. So our finance department or planning department, Mr. Tulsi headed planning for a while, always were comparing what is JK's return on capital employed, what is Ballarpur's return on capital employed, and how do you get that or how do you get higher than that. That was the attempt all the time, even from the board, from the chairman, always we were told, maximize return on capital employed, why are you below TNPL or why are you below, at that time, I think today we are number 1, but at that time probably TNPL was ahead of us and we were better than all others after we got our raw material act together. So that is what you should look at. We were never told, no, Ballarpur share price is so much, why don't you make your share price so much? No, it's external to us, it's external to management.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On the other hand, I wish to just add one point. On the other hand, because you have responsibility to see that your shareholders' wealth is maximized, the shareholders' wealth cannot be maximized by dividend only. Dividend is peanuts. It is not for the dividend that a shareholder is investing in your company. A shareholder who is the owner of the company, apart from promoters, has invested in your company with a view that your share does very well in the market. He can sell at a higher price and be a crorepati, and that is how the big monies are coming into the IPOs and the share markets. Otherwise, there are better ways of investing in gold or in fixed deposits or something. Today,
but that is why, Barla, that is why you have stock market scams. That is why you have Enrons of the world. No, yeah. I'm not disputing with you. I'm not disputing with you that share price must keep going higher and higher. I'm saying what is management. Tulsi's question was what does it mean to the company, people in the company, like all of us. What does it mean to us? If you got a Harshad Mehta scam happening, somebody wants to play in the market, the promoter himself plays in the market to build the share price. Is that the right thing to know? No. As the CEO of the company, as the manager of the company, as the board of the company, what comes first? Yes, shareholder value maximization, share price increase is the objective, is the goal. What is the action that you have to take? The action you have to take is internal. Venkat's question, you gave 3 points, all valid points. What are the top 3 items you should look at? One which I would like to add is customer. Particularly if you're in software industry, he's a techie, I think. Particularly if you're in the software industry, what is the new customer acquisition that you are having every year? People say 30% of your revenue should come from the new customer acquisition. Are you getting that? Are you getting new customers? How many of your existing customers you are retaining? So new customer acquisition and existing customer retention. Now, so these are all the actions which will finally create shareholder value. But if a management focuses on day-to-day, ITC share price kitna ho gaya hai, you will only get disheartened because that day the share price would have crashed because something happened in US or COVID has come. What the hell what control you have on COVID? What control you have on Nirmala Sitharaman? How much excise duty she is going to put? Okay, you may want to have control. You may think that you have control. You may go and make a presentation to her 3-4 times, but that's it.
She's got other compulsions. So she will hammer you with the increase in excise duty. Share price will crash. What you can do, what is in your control, is to reduce your own costs, create more value-added products, sell them at a higher price, sweat your assets, particularly for paper industry, maximum capacity utilization. Madhu will tell you. Instead of producing 100 tons, if it produces 105 tons, just 5 tons more, it will make world of difference to his profitability. Because that incremental 5 tons comes at a much, much lower cost. If you average out the profit and loss statement, you may say my cost of production is 25,000 and my selling price is 40,000. So I'm making 15,000 rupees profit. This is average. It's the role of finance people. It's the role of finance people to also tell you incrementally. Yeah. When I produce 5% more, the cost of that extra 5% is not the average cost. Yeah. So you have to look at these mechanisms to create. If you got maximum return on capital employed, the shareholder gave you 1,000 rupees, you created, let's say, 25% or 30% return on that. You got 25 rupees. It is shareholder's money. Whether you give it to him or not doesn't matter. You give him only 5 rupees out of that and use the balance 20 rupees to upgrade your machine, reduce your cost, plant more trees or collect waste paper more efficiently or whatever it is. Your future will be even brighter. So when ITC announced that they have taken over the Sunrise Masale or whatever foods, spices, the share price went up because the market liked it. They are saying ITC is not keeping their cash idle. They are growing fast now. They acquired a company, 2,000 crores acquisition, which was not there earlier. All our acquisitions were more modest. This was very substantial acquisition and shareholders liked it. The price went up. But it is not done. It is not done to move the share price up. It is done to get more market share, more control in the market, etc., etc. All right. I think. Any more questions?
Sir, if anyone has any more questions, please either raise your hand or I will unmute you.
Prakash, yes. We didn't hear. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I will read Prakash sir question, sir. He's asking is how to read financial statements and identify the cover-ups. That is first question. The second question is how forensic audit is carried out.
How to may I butt in?
How to read financial statements and identify the cover-ups. Balla sir, we have only 4 minutes left. Please answer quickly. Otherwise, we have to log in again.
Yeah. No. The best way to read the financial statements is to look at the ratios. Pick up the numbers and convert them into ratios and interpret the ratios. This is a quick answer one can give. And the all other unaccounted stuff which is there in the company is not really a part of the financial statements. An accountant will convert everything into dollars and rupees and captures and puts it according to the accounting rules. But what is beyond that which happens, okay, that is the limitation on part of the financial statements. There are several limitations which we will cover, but one of the limitations is that the other kinds of cover-ups, or accountant does a lot of window dressing, what we call, what we want to show, we will show, and things. Therefore, these serious limitations are there, and these financial statements are postmortems. They are done at the end of the period. They are not now, of course, due to computerization and all that, they have become live, but every transaction is completed, then only you have made it. So the postmortem, these kind of limitations are there, but definitely one way of reading the financial statements is to look at the ratios. Thank you.
The second question is, Mr. Barla, is about how forensic audit is carried out.
No, by forensic, it is not a part of the financial statements, but the forensic audit is related to the forensic parameters of people who are working in the company, whether there's some employee is fictitious or not, or somebody else is receiving in Food Corporation of India, the actual employees only take the salary. Somebody else is doing the work at 1/10 of the salary which this guy pays. So over the period of time, the supervisor is earning 2 lakhs and he will pay 20,000 and get the work done of unloading from the railways and so on. So the forensic will help us beyond the forensic will help us to identify actual people. Thank you.
All right.
So shall I go for vote of thanks, or if anyone has question?
I think go for word of time. I think good, very good theoretical framework in such a quick time. Marla, that was a challenge for you. How to do it in 40 minutes and 45 minutes.
It's almost.
It was very nice to circulate the note in advance. That was very well done.
Otherwise, it's about a week's program actually.
Sir, I will do the vote of thanks today because Satya still connection is still not corrected. I sincerely thank Barla sir for covering this session. Initially, I was requesting him, sir, this week I don't have any speaker, please cover this session. He promptly agreed and saved at least my face. I sincere thanks to Barla sir, and this is the need of the day. He quickly summarized the 3 important aspects, that is investment decision and financing decision and dividend decision, which basics of any finance. We learned a lot of things today. We hope we keep on calling you to get clarified on few more things which we have not yet digested today. Thank you, Barla sir, again. And next week we have a session with Mr. Swaroop, maybe not on Sunday, maybe on Saturday. We'll come up with the details very soon. Thanks to all participants, especially Pradeep sir, AV sir, Tulsi sir, and for joining. And few colleagues from Sirpur also joined today. Mr. Vijay Sagar also arranged few colleagues to join from Sirpur. Thank you all. Thanks to all participants.
Yeah, Dr. Sojanlal had come from an academic institution.
Yes,
so
yes, Mr. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Okay, right.
Okay,
take
bye-bye.
care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye.